The hidden poisons in your fridge, 7 drinks to stop drinking now. What if the drink you thought was the safest choice turned out to be the one poisoning you slowly? It's a question nobody wants to ask, but it's one we can't afford to ignore. Across America, more than 37 million people already struggle with diabetes, while the CDC reports over 128,000 hospitalizations every year from contaminated food and drink. The system we trust to keep us safe is failing. Just recently, Florida urgently recalled 2,000 cases of 7-Up from Walmart shelves because what was inside the can didn't match the label at all. If something this ordinary can fail, how many other, safe, drinks in your fridge are waiting to betray you? How many parents are pouring these toxins into sippy cups? How many seniors are swallowing them with medication believing it's harmless? And how many of us shrug off the risk because the price is cheap, because Walmart says it's fine, because we think one more bottle won't hurt? This is the Downturn Report, where the truth gets personal. Tonight we uncover the 7 drinks at Walmart you must stop drinking immediately because the next recall might already be too late. 1. 7-Up, the gentle soda with a deceitful secret. You never thought a can of 7-Up could turn into a gamble, did you? For most of us, it's always been the gentle soda. No caffeine, just bubbly, lemon-lime comfort in a green can that looks as harmless as springtime grass. Walmart made it an unbeatable deal, 12 cans for less than $4. A little sparkle of normal life in a world where everything else feels expensive. But when Florida recalled over 2,000 cases of 7-Up, that sparkle turned into a spotlight, exposing a truth too many of us try to ignore: what we drink may not be what we think. And isn't that the cruelest joke of all? That the thing you buy because it feels safe may be the very thing putting you at risk. This recall wasn't about mold or bacteria you could sniff out. It was a wrong sugar blend, which is corporate shorthand for, we put something inside your body that wasn't supposed to be there. If you're diabetic or if your blood pressure lives on the edge, that's not a tiny mistake. It's a loaded gun handed to you with a smile. The bottler, American Bottling Company under Keurig Dr. Pepper, swears it only happened in Florida, but how often does a corporate scandal politely stay put inside one state line? These cans aren't handmade pies cooling on a Florida windowsill. They're machine-filled, trucked coast to coast, stacked tall on Walmart shelves that see over 240 million customers every week. When one screw turns loose on that production line, the whole country could be drinking the fallout. The most painful part? Walmart didn't halt sales immediately. No loud announcements warned the shoppers. No receipts flagged the risk. Unless you happened upon a recall notice buried online, you drank first and learned later. That's not oversight. That's betrayal packaged with a smiley logo. If Walmart, with its empire-like reach, can't protect its customers from a botched formula, who exactly is left standing guard? Shield. 2. Arizona Tea, the lead-tainted bargain. Picture the aisle at Walmart. Row after row of tall, pastel cans stamped with cherry blossoms and that magic number, 99 cents. Arizona green tea looks like a gift from the 90s that never aged. A bargain that promises calm in a world where even a plain coffee can cost $5. Seniors reach for it because it feels affordable, dependable, almost innocent. But recent tests ripped off the label's mask, showing that innocence was nothing more than paint on poison. Florida's 7-Up recall already rattled shoppers. Now, imagine realizing that something sold everywhere, every day, has been quietly feeding lead into your body. Independent labs, including one cited by the Consumer Wellness Center, found as much as 21.91 micrograms of lead per liter in Arizona green tea. That's more than 400% higher than the FDA's limit for bottled water. Not one batch, not one mistake, but multiple samples over years. That means millions of cans. The CDC already estimates over 500,000 older Americans carry elevated lead levels in their blood, often without knowing it. How many of those numbers trace back to Walmart's shelves where pastel blossoms hide a heavy metal bite? Skull lead doesn't flush out like excess sugar. It stays. It settles in bones, clouds memory, weakens kidneys, raises blood pressure, and even nudges the brain toward early dementia. Tracing the problem leads overseas. A Reuters probe revealed suppliers from China and Taiwan, regions with looser pesticide controls than U.S. standards. Then there's the can itself, often lined with BPA, a chemical banned in baby bottles for disrupting hormones and linking to cancer. So while the label chirps about antioxidants and natural health, the reality looks more like a toxic punchline. And yet, Walmart keeps the illusion alive because the 3. Vitamin water, a health drink full of sugar. It doesn't just sit on the shelf, it flaunts itself. Vitamin water, with its rainbow bottles lined up like a candy store for adults, looks more like a pep talk than a drink. The names alone, XXX, Energy, Restore, sound like promises whispered at the pharmacy counter. For seniors managing aches and illnesses, for workers running on fumes between shifts, it feels like a healthier soda. A tiny investment in staying strong. Walmart knows this game too well, stacking vitamin water in towers, often pricing it cheaper than an actual bottle of generic vitamins. But every bright label hides a bait and switch so bold that even the courts had to step in. A class action lawsuit accused Coca-Cola, the brand's parent company, of trickery, marketing a sugar bomb as a health drink. Each 20-ounce bottle carries 32 grams of sugar, more than a glazed donut. When cornered, Coca-Cola's legal defense wasn't denial. It was mockery. They argued no reasonable person should believe vitamin water was actually healthy. In other words, yes, we misled you, but shame on you for trusting us. That's the corporate equivalent of selling cough syrup laced with whiskey and telling customers they should have read between the lines. The betrayal deepens when you look at the ingredients: crystalline fructose, artificial flavors, and the infamous Red 40, a petroleum-based dye linked to hyperactivity, migraines, and allergic reactions. Red 40 is restricted or banned in parts of Europe. Yet in America, it flows freely into drinks sold at Walmart, right next to multivitamins and sugar-free oatmeal. The irony drips like syrup. 4. UCC Coffee, the quiet chemical cocktail. UCC canned coffee just waits quietly on the Walmart shelf. A sleek metal can for under $2, whispering sophistication without Starbucks prices. Seniors like it because it's easy, no brewing, no filters. Factory workers toss it into lunch pails. Nurses sip it at midnight. It feels efficient, even trustworthy. But open the can and you aren't just drinking coffee. You're swallowing a cocktail of chemicals that Europe and even parts of Asia won't touch. The first warning is sodium quinate, a milk protein altered with solvents to keep UCC's creamy texture. On paper, it sounds harmless, but the European Food Safety Authority flagged it for contamination with aluminum and chemical residues. Aluminum doesn't wash away. It lodges in the brain and bones. In older adults, where detox systems already slow, years of sipping can add up to memory loss and neurological decline eerily similar to early Alzheimer's. Then comes potassium sorbate, a preservative so common it hides in plain sight. Switzerland and parts of Scandinavia banned it after studies showed that when mixed with other food chemicals, it may damage DNA. Yet in UCC coffee, it stretches shelf life months beyond what's natural, keeping Walmart pallets full. Customers see smooth and bold, never realizing each pop of the can might be a small DNA gamble. Worse still, a Taiwanese safety group tested 7 UCC varieties and found 5 carried benzopyrene, a Group 1 carcinogen formed during high heat processing. U.S. regulators called the levels acceptable. But acceptable here was higher than what Japan or the EU would ever allow. Imagine that irony. A Japanese brand sold in America with chemicals too dirty for Japanese shelves. Hot beverage. 5. Great value apple juice, arsenic in a sippy cup. Apple juice feels like the safest bet in the grocery aisle. Golden, familiar, and tied to childhood like peanut butter and crayons. When it carries Walmart's great value label, shoppers don't think twice. At just over $2 for a half-gallon, it seems like an honest deal. Pour it into a toddler's sippy cup, mix it with medicine for grandma, or keep it in the fridge for anyone too tired to question water quality. But what looks innocent in that jug has been exposed as one of Walmart's dirtiest secrets: arsenic, pesticides, and foreign shortcuts poured straight into America's cups. Consumer Reports testing revealed that Walmart's great value apple juice contained levels of inorganic arsenic above 10 parts per billion, the same limit the EPA enforces on drinking water. That means the juice your child drinks faces looser regulation than the water from your tap. Inorganic arsenic isn't a trivial trace. It's linked to cancers of the bladder, lung, and skin, as well as memory loss in seniors and developmental harm in kids. And arsenic is only the beginning. A 2022 Environmental Working Group report showed more than 80% of private label juices, including Great Value, carried residues of diphenylamine, a pesticide banned in the EU for its cancer-forming potential. So the very juice proudly sold as 100% natural in Walmart would be illegal across much of Europe. Where does Walmart get it? Mostly apple concentrate shipped from China and Argentina, regions notorious for weaker environmental laws. Factories there scrape apples off the ground, coat them in pesticides, and funnel them into processing tanks before sending the concentrate abroad. The average Walmart customer believes they're drinking sunshine in a jug. In truth, they're swallowing runoff from industrial farms halfway around the globe. Red Apple. 6. Body Armor, the toxin in the bottle. The name itself feels like a promise: body armor. As if one sip could shield you from harm. At Walmart, it sits right between water and energy drinks, dressed in bold colors and flavors like peach mango or watermelon strawberry. It whispers that it's the smarter alternative to soda or Gatorade. For parents handing it to kids after practice, for seniors reaching for something that feels healthier than cola, it looks like protection in a bottle. But the so-called armor has cracks, and inside those cracks are invisible chemicals that don't leave your body once they enter. Recent testing by the Center for Environmental Health uncovered PFAS, forever chemicals, in multiple body armor drinks, especially the light line. These compounds, used to coat packaging, seep into the liquid and then into your bloodstream. The CDC links PFAS exposure to thyroid disease, hormone disruption, liver damage, lowered immunity, and cancer. The EPA's new water guideline puts safe exposure near zero. Yet, Walmart coolers are stocked with bottles that independent labs found containing more than 20 parts per trillion. That might sound small until you realize these chemicals never leave your system. Each sip is a deposit you can't withdraw. The irony is cruel. PFAS contamination doesn't come from the drink itself, but from the bottle caps, ink coatings, and labels. While you sip fruit-flavored electrolytes, the packaging bleeds toxins into your cup. The very armor meant to protect turns into the blade, cutting you down quietly, legally, and for profit. Shield cross mark. 7. Diet Right, the diet soda that isn't so right. Diet Right doesn't shout for attention. No flashy commercials, no Super Bowl ads, just a humble spot on Walmart's shelves, quietly promising zero sugar, 0 calories, 0 caffeine, 0 sodium. To a retiree watching blood pressure or a diabetic clinging to control over glucose spikes, it feels like a safe loophole. A soda without consequences. A small luxury on a tight budget. But the history of Diet Right tells a darker story. One of banned chemicals, revolving door sweeteners, and risks that linger far beyond the taste. Its current recipe relies heavily on acesulfame potassium, or ACE-K, a chemical flagged in more than 37 peer-reviewed studies for possible thyroid disruption, insulin resistance, and reproductive issues, especially in seniors and postmenopausal women. The irony: a diet drink that could worsen the very conditions its target audience is desperate to avoid. ACE-K isn't a global standard. Germany, Switzerland, and several Asian nations have already restricted or banned it over long-term safety concerns. Yet, Walmart continues to stock Diet Right in bulk, particularly in rural towns and low-income neighborhoods. Why? Because it's cheap, marketed quietly, and snapped up by shoppers using SNAP benefits or stretching their last $10. The cost is visible in hospital data. A 2024 NIH report showed that nearly half of American adults over 60 regularly consume artificial sweeteners, with Diet Right leading sales among lower-income seniors. How many are really side effects of daily chemical cocktails disguised as diet soda? And the damage doesn't stop with the body. Toxicologists warn that ACE-K isn't fully metabolized and passes into wastewater, persisting in rivers and groundwater, impacting fish fertility and soil microbes. Every can of zero-calorie refreshment echoes beyond your bloodstream.